Living the life.
We're going to move over to our next guest, who's all the way, well, he's not from Oxford, but we're going to talk about Oxford as well. Muhammad Hussain Imam, who's been fundraising efforts have actually helped him to take his degree and on his road to becoming a barrister.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
It's quite a remarkable story, isn't it?
It is very much so.
Because we're both obviously in the fundraising game. And you know, we've never ever done anything like this, but this is something truly remarkable.
Not for people's studies.
Yeah.
But that's how difficult things are.
Absolutely.
Let's have a look. Let's speak to Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Thanks, Sam.
Welcome. Well, alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair. Now listen, this is a really fascinating story. So you've actually graduated already, is that right?
Yes, I finished from Oxford in June.
Brilliant. And you obviously, it's been a longer and a more interesting journey than most students are going to take. Tell us about it.
So I finished in June and started applying for scholarships in like early January, but didn't seem to have anything in place by the end of my finals. So eventually got to the stage where I'm going to have to fundraise to do my degree. So I set up a fundraiser in August, and the fees were due this week. So obviously time was short. And thankfully I got the 14,900 I needed, and I'm going to be starting my first set of tutorials tomorrow.
Amazing.
Wow.
Mashallah. You know, see, the thing is, what I like about the story is that normally when you think of the Oxford universities, you always associate with Etonians, right? They're the people who've gone to private grammar schools,
good background,
well-off families. And you know, here's a classic example, and we don't normally get these stories, right, of someone who's gone to perhaps the best university in the world, and now when it comes to pursuing your career, there's more funding which is required, and you went on quite a remarkable journey in terms of, you know, we've got to find the funding from somewhere. But tell us about that journey. Tell us about how you got to where you are right now.
I grew up in Croydon. My mum raised me just down the road from my state comprehensive in South Croydon. Went there from year 7 all the way through to year 13. Really tried hard to really knuckle down. Went to visited Oxford when I was applying to university. Really liked it and ended up applying and thankfully getting in.
Wow. So the fundraising element, what did you do? Because you offered some tutoring. Tell us about that. Yeah,
so about halfway in, I thought I have to do something for these people who have donated, because there is a sense of this is a very kind thing to do, to give money for someone else's education. So I thought, considering I'd already done quite a lot of volunteering whilst I was at university, I would offer for every £15 donated, I would offer another hour of volunteering for disadvantaged students to either get them into university or just advise them of their options when they get to A-levels.
And so how do these students come to you? You know, did you advertise to make yourself available?
So it depends. I've worked with various charities, Teach First being the most notable. But sometimes they are just like word of mouth. Someone hears about me or talks to my mum, and then they decide to put me in touch and decide to take maybe an hour, a few hours to talk about their personal statement or their A-levels.
Right. So now you're starting your lectures, etc. tomorrow. You've started to offer the training courses, support and counselling to other people. What's next? What is the next 2 or 3 years looking like?
So to become a barrister, if you don't do a law degree at university, you have the conversion course, which is currently what I'm doing. Then you have your barrister training course, which is the next year, so another year of study. And then you'll have potentially a year where you might take some time out to do some more study, so a more in-depth study of the law. Or you'll start your training year for chambers. And then the year after, you become a barrister and you become a tenant in a chambers. So fingers crossed, that's the time.
I've always imagined and pictured barristers as these great orators, great debaters. I mean, is that a natural talent, do you think, or is that part of the training and it just comes as you're kind of progressing through your career?
I think it depends on the person. There are very few people who are naturally talented in terms of debating and public speaking. But I think it's quite an acquired skill for the majority of people. I think for most private schools, they'll teach you quite early on to go off and do debating competitions. So quite a lot of people on my course will most likely have done some form of debating competition. I obviously didn't go to a private school, but then did go to Oxford, so I have some vague idea of how to debate.
So now the question is, have you ever debated a Scotsman?
No, I haven't actually.
I've never understood the difference between a lawyer,
Yeah.
a solicitor,
Yeah.
a barrister, and a judge. What are the four differences? Let's see if you're any good at this now, right? What's the difference between a judge, a lawyer, a solicitor, and a barrister?
This sounds like the making of a bad joke, by the way. But anyway,
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, a judge and a lawyer and a barrister and a solicitor walks into bar. No. What's the difference?
So a lawyer is a general term for anyone who, it can either be someone who's studying law, so an academic or like just a student, a barrister or solicitor or judge. A solicitor tends to be people who work in like the paperwork kind of side and don't appear in court. A barrister tends to appear in courts for either the defendants or the claimants. And then a judge is one that presides over a court hearing.
So the judge is the king, isn't he?
Kind of, yeah. I guess like he is basically the kingmaker in the sense he gets to decide. I guess he gets to direct the jury and direct the court hearing.
And a barrister pretty key.
Yes.
Because without a barrister, certain things can't happen. Whereas without a lawyer or a solicitor, I think certain things can happen.
They're the one who's defending you if you've done something wrong,
The
right?
barrister's the main man. Do you have to wear a wig as well?
It depends on what court you're in. So if you're in the commercial court, you don't wear a wig. If you're in the criminal court, you do wear a wig. So it depends on what side of things you tend to go down.
Why do they wear the wig? I've always been intrigued because we see it in the movies.
It's to make it look different from everybody else.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Why is that? Do you know, Mohammed? What's the significance of the wig?
It's just one of those weird traditions that like have hung on. So like for example, in Oxford we wear similar gowns for our exams. It's just one of the odd traditions that have like just kept going.
Right, listen. Before we go, anybody watching out there today, young person like yourself, going through not the Etonian journey, but a difficult journey, but they've got an ambition. They want to become something. Finances could be an issue. There could be access issues. What advice would you give to young people watching tonight?
I think regardless, your dreams are what matters. And I think regardless of your gender, your race, your sexuality or disability, you should try as hard as you can, because even if you don't get to where you want to get to, you'll get pretty close in trying your hardest. And nobody's going to fault you for that. But if you don't try your hardest, you're going to regret it every step of the way.
Brilliant. Try your hardest.
Great advice.
Otherwise, you'll regret it.
No, that's true. So
fantastic, Mohammed. Listen, all the very, very best, and we hope to get you back on somewhere along your journey, and definitely get you back on once you get your wig.
I will be calling on you in case we ever need representation.
Hopefully, I never have to call on you, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Allah bless, inshallah. And your mother especially for looking after you and getting you to a yard today, inshallah.
Yeah, okay, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
MashaAllah. What an inspiration. Brilliant.
Living the life.